Trauma is a word that often conjures these harrowing images of extreme situations like war zones and human trafficking, which those are certainly traumatic. For much of my life, I thought that trauma is something that happens to other people. I thought that abuse is something that happens to other people. Hi there. I'm Amy Lloyd from Ascension Wellness, where I support health and wellness providers, entrepreneurs, and other free spirits in self-led leadership development, trauma recovery, spiritual awakenings, and business development. Knowing what I know now, I recognize that I grew up experiencing sexual, physical, emotional, verbal, medical, and financial abuse. And as an adult, I also experienced a lot of religious abuse. But trauma and abuse are actually not the same thing. As Gabor Mate puts it, trauma is not what happens to you, trauma is what happens inside of you as a result of what happened to you. So trauma is not being hit, it's the bruise caused by being hit. To build on that analogy, experiencing trauma is not always the result of abuse, even. So a friend pitching a baseball to you that then hits you, causing a bruise, is not abuse. It's an accident. Someone throwing a ball specifically to hit you and laughing at your pain, that's abuse. That is bullying and physical abuse. A teacher calling on a kid to read out loud in a class might cause this, a shy kid, for example, to fly into a panic attack and suddenly they can't even remember how to read. That kid might very well experience a trauma wound that they carry with them and allowing it to hold them back, afraid to speak up for themselves. That's not abuse. However, a teacher being short with the kid who is all freaked out and humiliated at being called on to read, that's abuse, right? Understanding the difference can help you recognize trauma wounds that you might be turning around and not even be aware of. But do you need more examples on what trauma can look like and what trauma can feel like? Depression, anxiety, sleep problems, sleeping too much or sleeping too little, or taking forever to go to sleep, waking up, tossing, turning, all of that. People pleasing, catastrophizing, making a big deal out of everything, being a drama queen, being needy, clingy, blaming yourself, blaming others, having anger issues, both imploding as well as exploding. If you can't feel your anger or it feels very minimal, then always, no matter what just happened, then you have anger issues just like the big exploders do. Chronic health issues. Often our trauma wounds will go on for so long and just pile up and pile up and pile up through life. We're carrying a lot of energy. That energy has to go somewhere and it has to do something, and it starts to make things go wonky. And many times it manifests as a physical illness. Mental health conditions, obviously, things like ADD, bipolar, personality disorder, schizophrenia, but all of the rest. If you have any sort of mental health diagnosis, you're carrying trauma. Relationship dynamics. Unresolved trauma can influence interpersonal relationships, leading to patterns of being a doormat, being controlling and manipulating, or allowing yourself to be manipulated, or both. Experiencing difficulties having or being in a safe and healthy relationship, feeling a safe and healthy attachment with another person. Identity confusion, the struggle to understand yourself, who you are, coupled especially with pervasive feelings of inadequacy or unworthiness, can be a profound symptom of unresolved trauma. Spiritual emergence and spiritual emergency. So spiritual emergence is also another way of saying spiritual awakening. And it's the process of knowing both yourself and your higher power at a deeper and more intimate level. The process is often catalyzed, though, by experiencing trauma and or healing through trauma. For many, this process of coming closer to God, universe, spirit, creator can be all kinds of warm and fuzzy. And that's what we all hope for. For others, though, things can go sideways and it can quickly escalate into what is referred to as a spiritual emergency. I actually wrote a whole article titled Understanding Spiritual Emergence and Spiritual Emergency. And I'll link to that in that article in the show notes for you to go grab. Okay, so by now you're probably resonating with a few of these. So what do? Okay, you are thinking, or you know that you have some unhealed trauma wounds. What do you do with that? So I wanted to share a few tangible things with you. This healing trauma business is seldom straightforward. There are twists and turns, it's all over the place, and finding answers to questions can be like trying to hold an eel. It's elusive, especially when your brain is not functioning at full capacity and you just need to know how to end the freaking panic attack at 3 a.m. or how to just get through a day at work or how to show up with or for your kids when you can't even stop crying. So we need to come at this from both directions, proactively to build resilience muscles, so to speak, and reactively. What do you do in the moment when you're falling apart or soon after that moment has passed? Okay, so let's talk about proactive first. Self-reflection can be the single most helpful thing a human being can ever do for themselves. Self-reflection. Self-reflection. If you want to go look at yourself in the mirror, that can be a wonderful way to do it. That might also be a more advanced way to build up to. However, there are certain personality types who will thrive by looking themselves in the mirror, like direct eye contact with themselves. If that thought freaks you out, then there are some other ways you can do it. So engage in introspective practices, things like journaling, meditation, mindfulness. Those can be some powerful tools to help you explore the origins of your thoughts and your behaviors and your emotional responses. Okay, creative expression is another fantastic way to transmute all of that stuck energy into something beautiful. But more importantly than creating beauty, which has value in and of itself, but even more important, you're moving the energy out of you, which then opens up space and increases capacity. So art, writing, music, dance, oh my goodness, dance is an amazing one because then it's both creative and physical. But however, whatever creative expression speaks to you, it can serve as an outlet for processing emotions that may be challenging to allow yourself to feel otherwise, and certainly challenging to articulate verbally. So another one is mind-body practices, things like yoga, tai chi, qigong, breath work. These modalities can help release the stored tension and energy and promote overall well-being. They can also, all of these, but maybe especially these physically based modalities can really help with both mental and physical health issues as well. Okay, educate yourself is a fantastic way to support yourself proactively because we don't know what we don't know. And, like I said, I went through most of my life having no idea that I was carrying all of these unhealed trauma wounds because, well, trauma happens to other people, right? And that's not true. So once I learned better, I can do better. So understanding, there's a motorcycle right out my window. So understanding the science and the biology and the psychology and the sociology of trauma can empower you on your healing journey. So books, articles, documentaries on trauma-informed care, on what trauma looks like, feels like, on how to heal from trauma, those can all be, they can all provide valuable insights, helping you to make connections and understand your experiences in brand new ways. And understanding trauma can catapult your healing integration to levels you have never before dreamed of. Okay, so those are all some great proactive strategies. What do you do in the moment? It's 3 a.m. and you're freaking out in a panic attack, or you're laying on the kitchen floor crying into a growing puddle. What do you do? Most of the time, you're really struggling. you are dissociated to some degree. So that just means that you are disconnected from your body. So doing something to shock your system, so to speak, something to engage your vagus nerve specifically, helps to bring you back into your body, back into the here and now, where you will have more access to your thinking brain. When we are triggered, when we are dissociated and disconnected from our body, we have no access to our prefrontal cortex, which is what we need to think our way through something. So some ways to engage your vagus nerve is to rub an ice cube along the left side of your face. The vagus nerve actually runs closest to the surface on the left side of your face, so that's a quick shortcut. Walking barefooted outside in the cold. If it's snowing, even better. If it's hot out and that's not an option, go stick your head in the freezer. That'll bring you back to self real quick. Also, taking slow, deep belly breaths. This actually pushes your diaphragm into the vagus nerve, which runs behind it. And so extra points if you can get yourself to exhale even more slowly than you inhale. That additionally tells your nervous system that you're safe. So another great way that you can tell your nervous system that you're safe is to slowly scan your surroundings. And I mean super slowly. So you're going to look back over one shoulder and either mentally or out loud. It's even better if you can do it out loud, but if that's uncomfortable, just mentally name everything you see and slowly scan in front of you, continuing to name everything until you're then looking back over the other shoulder. In addition to stimulating your nervous system and your vagus nerve, allowing yourself to make choices that are in your best interest is the single most important thing you can do for yourself, which I realized earlier. I said that too, but I'm going to say it again. Just learning how to choose you and work in your own best interest. We tend to be our own worst enemies. So while this one takes practice over time, it does get easier. So at first, when you first start trying to practice this, you're not going to catch yourself. You will seldom catch yourself in the moment, but you'll catch yourself, an hour later or 5 days later. And that's progress because you didn't do that last time. And then next time, maybe you catch yourself 3 days later. And just slowly working at it like that, you get better and better and better until eventually, lo and behold, you're able to catch yourself in the moment. So if you're feeling resistant to something, honor that resistance. It's telling you something. And, while it can be helpful to spend time with it, time with yourself to understand it, to understand that resistance, to understand whatever or what any other emotions that might be going along with it and why you're feeling what you're feeling in the moment. You don't owe anyone, including yourself, an explanation. You just get to honor the fact that your body is saying no, period. So there you have it. There are several ways where you can support yourself proactively and as well as in the moment as you're learning how to heal trauma wounds, that these things can help you, whether you realize you have trauma or not. And even if you have not yet identified specific trauma wounds, that's okay. Start practicing these, both the proactive and the reactive strategies that I have shared. And over time, you will start noticing a difference. Lastly, pay close attention to how you're doing through the process. Like I said, for many years, I unknowingly made decisions that re-traumatize me on a regular basis. If you're struggling, seek support. Not only can going through this process by yourself potentially be dangerous and delay your recovery, to some degree, you actually need others. The very nature of trauma is that it disconnects you from yourself. So to fully heal, at least to some degree, part of your healing is going to have to take place in the context of a safe and healthy relationship. It doesn't matter what kind of relationship. It can be a friend, a parent, a doctor, a coach. I even once had coworkers who, unbeknownst to me or them, they were a safe enough relationship for me at the time. I wasn't talking to them about my trauma. I didn't even know I had trauma. I had no idea. But they helped me learn safe and healthy ways to be in relationship that I had never experienced before. And that was deeply transformative. So even when we do have safe and healthy relationships, sometimes we still need more direct support. So just pay attention and honor how you feel. And if you find that you need more support, reach out.